Shalom, Israel. Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahushua Barakatham. To all the Akim out there. Yahweh Shamar Alatham Ba'Hashem Yahushua. To all the Akwakian out there. This is the Baltimore Sabbath Service. And what we're going to do is first, we're just going to do a little bit of review. And then we're going to go ahead and get right into it. The reason we're going to do a little review so that we can understand the context of what we talk about today and why it's important. So let's do a little review. Now, we're going to start today in Genesis 10. So go ahead and turn to your Bibles to Genesis 10. And we're going to be starting in verse 11. Okay, now let's give some context and some background of what we're talking about today. So, what's going on now here? We now see that the flood is over, and Noah had 3 sons. We know that. Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Okay, these were going to be the nations that filled up that, we'll say that Middle Eastern land of Canaan, parts of Africa, some parts of Asia area. They were going to fill them up. Now, I want us to point out something that's important, okay? Genesis 10 is going to go through the nations that came from Shem, Ham, and Japheth. There's also something important that we need to look at, okay? Let's go back to Genesis 9, okay? We want to go get a little bit more context when Noah came out of the ark, okay? Let's go to Genesis 9, and we're going to go to verse 1, all right? Genesis 9, we're going to go to, am I reading that? All right, we're going to go to Genesis 9 verse, we're going to read that in the English. And we're just going to get a little context of why this is important for today. So Genesis 9, shalom. We're going to get a little bit of context.
You said Genesis 9.
Genesis chapter 9, verse 1.
Genesis chapter 9, verse 1. And God blessed Noah and his sons, and said unto them, be fruitful and multiply.
Okay, so this is important. He said, be fruitful, multiply. Same thing that he said in the beginning when he created man, when man was put there. Said, be fruitful and multiply. Go ahead.
And replenish the earth.
And replenish the earth. So they were supposed to be fruitful, multiply, and fill up the land. Now this is key about what we're going to be talking about. So, like, sir, you can turn that around if you like to the screen. We just want to see what's coming. So he's telling them to fill up the land. Now this is really, very important because what we're going to see today is that they did not follow that order. Okay, they did not. So he said, hey, fill it up. Pretty much scatter, have your family scatter abroad. Okay, that was the command. Okay, we're going to see that they did not obey that order. Okay, so that's the context that I want us to see first, is that the Most High said, hey, multiply, scatter abroad, fill up this land. Okay, now we go on now to Genesis 10 verse 1. Okay, we're just doing a little preview. We're going to go back a little bit just to get some context. Would you mind reading Genesis 10, verse 1 for me, please?
Genesis chapter 10, verse 1. Now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And unto them were sons born after the flood.
Okay, so they had children after the flood, okay, and they were commanded to fill up the land, scatter, fill it up, okay? So that's the context. Now, we've really pretty much read about the children of Japheth, okay, and where they were to be divided into their lands. Let's jump to verse 5 for me, please.
Genesis chapter 10, verse 5. By these were the isles of the Gentiles, divided in their lands, every one after his tongue, after their families, in their nation.
So they had lands that they were assigned to go to. Okay, they were divided, had lands to go to. There's a reason why the Most High did this, okay? Then we go down to the sons. After we see the children of the sons of Japheth, we see the sons of Ham, okay? I'll read verse 6 for me, please.
Genesis chapter 10, verse 6. And the sons of Ham, Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan.
Okay, so you have Cush, okay? Cushites, Ethiopians, pretty much, okay? Mizraim, you got pretty much the Egyptians. Foot, Canaan, okay? These were the, especially Canaan, were the tribes that were scattered all in the land of Canaan, where the children of Israel went into, okay? And these were pretty much a lot of the, some of the African tribes, okay? These were some of the tribes that came from Ham that were all throughout Canaan, Ethiopia, Egypt, okay? They were spread all out there. And the Most High told them to scatter and go to their lands, okay? Now, let's look at verse 8 really quick. Go ahead.
Come on. Genesis chapter 10, verse 8. And Cush begot Nimrod.
Okay, so Cush, one of the sons of Ham, begot Nimrod. Okay, this is another thing that we need to notice. Go ahead and read it.
He began to be a mighty one in the earth.
Okay, now, if we were, does anybody remember when there's mighty ones in the earth, what does that usually cause? Does anybody remember? Anybody remember? Okay, if you looked at before the flood, you had these men of renown, these mighty men. And what did they start to do in the earth? They started to cause what? They started to cause violence upon the earth. They started to cause sin upon the earth because they were going against what the Most High's laws. Usually when you have these mighty ones, giants, men of renown, okay, they're contrary. They have a lifestyle. They build these systems that are contrary to what the Most High is. So Nimrod began to become a mighty one, a giant on the earth. Remember before the flood, you had giants and what they were doing. And we're not talking about Andre the Giant type people. Giant, sir. Come, sir. Yes, Nimrod came from Ham. You had the mighty ones. And these mighty ones, you know, like these big giants, big name, big shots, okay? They usually cause trouble in the earth because what? Because they kind of pretty much set themselves up as gods, okay? As mighty ones. And would create systems, okay? Keep going. Verse 9.
Verse 9. He was a mighty hunter before the Most High.
Okay, usually when you have a mighty hunter, they have the same spirit like Esau. Esau was a hunter, okay? What's Ishmael was a wild man of the field, okay? You see these, the Bible is trying to tell you, you see patterns here. Wild ones, consuming everybody, consuming the earth, okay? You know, making empires, okay? And setting themselves up as gods. Go ahead.
Wherefore it is said, even as Nimrod, the mighty hunter before the Lord.
Go ahead. And now we're going to go into verse 10. Go ahead.
Verse 10. And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel.
Okay. So Babel, you know, is pretty much Babylon. So Nimrod is the one that created the nation of Babylon. And we've noticed throughout the Bible, Babylon is the one that's always causing a lot of trouble. You look at this in Revelation. Go ahead.
And Iraq, and Akkad, and Calneh, and the land of Shinar.
Okay, so he's building these empires. Now we're going to see today why this is important. Okay, so understand that the nations were supposed to scatter to their allotted lands. Okay, and there was Shem, Ham, and Japheth. They were supposed to be scattering out, filling the earth up into their allotted territories. And then you had somebody like Nimrod, who was like a giant, a mighty one, well known. And we know, just like before the throne, the mighty ones would start to cause trouble in the earth, fill the earth with violence, evil, every imagination. This is what's starting to happen again. This is a repeat. All right? Okay, so now we're going to start reading in the Hebrew. We're in Genesis 10. We're going to read 11 through 17 in the Hebrew. Then we'll read it in the English. Genesis chapter 10, verse 11 in the Hebrew. Man ha'aratasa hawa'ah yetaza'ah ashawor wayaban af nayayanwa wa'af rakabath ayar wa'af kalach. Verse 12. Wa'af rasan bayan nayanwa wabayan kalak hawa'ah ha'ayar hagadalah. Verse 13. Wamatazarium yalad af lawadyum wa'af ainamyum wa'af lahabyum wa'af napathakyum. Verse 14. Wa'af patharasium wa'af kasalakyum ashar yataza'awa masham palashafyum wa'af kapatharium. Verse 15. Wakana'ain yalad af tazayadan bakarwa wa'af kaf. Verse 16. Wa'af hayabawasya wa'af ha'armarya wa'af hagaragashya. Verse 17. Wa'af hakawaya wa'af ha'ayrakya wa'af hasayanya. And that's it. All right, let's go to read Genesis 10, 11 through 17.
Genesis chapter 10, verse 11. Out of the land went forth Ashur, and building Nevanah, and the city of Rehoboth, and Calah. Verse 12.
And you know, Nineveh was part of the Assyrian Empire. They would be later be the ones that would be capturing the children of Israel, taking the children of Israel into captivity. That's the city that Jonah did not want to go to. But remember, our people were there. Jonah did not want to go to that city. All right, go ahead.
Verse 12. And resin between Nevanah and Calah, the same is a great city. Verse 13. And Mizraim begot Ludim, and Anamim, and Lahabim, and Nephatiim. Verse 14. And Pathrusim, and Kesalim, out of whom came Philistine, and Caphtorim. Verse 15. And Canaan begot Sidon, his firstborn, and Heth. Verse 16.
And you're going to see all of these nations that are coming from Canaan. These were the nations in the land when when Joshua and the Israelites came into the land of Canaan. Okay, these were the nations that they had to, the Most High said, don't make any covenants with them. When you go into the land, don't make any covenants with the Hivites and the Girgashites and the Hittites. Okay? These were the nations that the Most High was putting out of the land. Go ahead.
Verse 16. And Jebusite and the Amorite and the Girgasite, verse 17. And the Hevite and the Archite and the Sinite.
Okay.
Verse
Excellent.
8.
That was good. All right, so we're just looking through the nations and where they were put, okay? And the thing is the Canaanites that were in the land of Canaan, the Most High put them out because the land, there's a principle inside that land of Canaan. You have to obey the laws, statutes, and commandments. Like there's the laws, there's spiritual laws in that land. Or I think it's in Leviticus, 18 or 19. Most High says if you do not follow these laws, the land will what? What's the land going to do to you? Anybody remember? What's the land do to you? He says the land will what? What happened to the children of Israel every time they were disobedient?
Spew you out.
There we go. Say it again.
Spew you out.
The land will spew you out. Okay? And those Canaanites that were in those lands, they were doing abominations, detestable things. And so the Most High spit them out and told Israel, you're not to do those things. Okay?
Slack, can I say something?
Come on.
And verse And when you beginning and you read over verse 5, it said, by these were the isles of the Gentiles. And I know the Christian church tell us that the Gentiles are people who are not Christians. You know what I mean? And this right here is telling you who, you know, he's talking about these Gentiles, which came from Japheth and Ham.
Come. Excellent. A good point. All right. Let's go ahead and continue reading Genesis 10, 18 through 27. Okay, we're going to read it in the we're going to read it in the Hebrew, then in the English. Genesis 10, verse 18. 18 through 27. That looks like it's more than 7. I'll just read. I'm just going by. Looks like it's more than 7 though. I think
It's
my
supposed
math.
to stop at 24.
Was that my mistake? Maybe it's my mistake. Stop at 24. Okay. Genesis 10, 18 through 24 in the Hebrew. Wa'ah ha'arawadya. Wa'ah ha'tazamaria. Wa'ah ha'kamathya. Wa'akar natazawa. Masha pakwa. Hakanaanya. Verse 19. Wayahaya Gabawal Hakanaanya Matazayadan Ba'aka Garara Aiza Ba'aka Sarama Wa'aimara Wa'adama Watazabyam Lashai. Verse 20. Allah, Bunya, Chum, Lamasha, Pachtham, Lalashan Natham, Ba'ara Tazatham, Baga Wayahum. Verse 21. Wala Sham, Yalad, Gum, Hawa'a, Abaya, Kal, Bunya, Ibar, Akya, Yapath, Hagadalwal. Verse 22. Bunya, Sham, Ayalam, Shawar, Awarapakashad, Wala Wad, Wa'aram. Verse 23. Wabunya, Aram, Iwataza, Wakawal, Wagathar, Wamash. Verse 24. Wa'arapashad, Yalad, Af, Shalak, Washalak, Yalad, Af, Ibar. And that's it. All right, now we're going to be reading Genesis 18. We're going to be reading Genesis 10, 18 through 24.
Genesis chapter 10, verse 18. And the Arvedite, and the Zemarite, and the Hamathite, and afterwards were the families of Canaanites spread abroad. Verse 19. And the border of the Canaanites was from Sidon, as thou comest to Gerar unto Gaza, as thou goest unto Sodom and Gomorrah, and Admah, and Zeboim, even unto Lasha. Verse 20. These are the sons of Ham, after their families, after their tongues, in their countries, in their nations.
So notice how it says in their families, their countries, their nations, their borders. All right, keep going.
So Sodom and Gomorrah was set up by the Hamites?
It says the Canaan was for Khan.
Okay.
It was inhabited, well, at least it was inhabited by Canaanites initially.
It was inhabited.
Where it says unto Gaza, thou was going to Sodom and Gomorrah and to Adamah. I think when he's talking about this in this passage, he's talking about where they were going, their borders. It was from Sidon as thou goes to Gerar. It's kind of giving you like a direction of how they scattered out, where they were supposed to be. Because we're going to see they weren't where they were supposed to be. if that makes sense.
Okay, so Sodom and Gomorrah was already set up before they went over there?
Now that's something I don't know. I think when the writer was writing this, he was given if I was writing something, and I was in reference to something that existed at my time, like let me see, like Baltimore didn't exist in the 1500s.
Later on.
Yeah,
You're
right.
saying this is where
Where the
right
writer-
now this
right.
is where Baltimore is. Well, back then they were where Baltimore would be today.
So basically, what I'm saying is like when the writer was writing this, he was giving reference to Sodom and Gomorrah, that was the cities of that day. Now I don't know if they're the ones that settled. I don't know if they were the ones that created it, but he's making reference to Sodom and Gomorrah when he's writing it.
I got you. Hold on, okay. All right, verse 12.
Are we on 20? Are we in 20?
No, we in verse 21.
21.
Okay. Verse 21. Unto Shem also, the father of all the children of Eber, the brother of Japheth, the elder, even to him were children born.
Okay, so this is the Shem, and it says also the father of all the children of Eber. This is where we get the word Hebrew from. It's from the name Eber. Okay, this is where we get the word Hebrew from. Okay, so Hebrew comes from that line, or Eber comes from that line of Shem. Go ahead.
And one come. Verse 22. The children of Shem, Elam, and Asher, and Arphaxad, and Lud, and Aram. Verse 23. And the children of Aram is Uz, and Hul, and Gether, and Mash. Verse 24. And Arphaxad begot Salah, and Salah begot Eber.
Okay, so this is where Hebrew comes from. Oh, shalom. All right. So now we're going to be reading. Excellent work too, correct. All right, now we're going to be reading. Genesis 10, 25 to 32. We're going to read that in the Hebrew and then in the English. Genesis chapter 10, verse 25. 25, Slaki. Wala Ibar, Yalad, Shunya, Bunyam, Sham, Ha'akad, Palag, Kayad, by Yum Yawa, Napalaga, Ha'arataza, Washam, Akyawa, Yakwa Tun, verse 26. Wayakwatan, Yalad, Af, Alama Wadad, Wa'af, Shalak, Wa'af, Katazar Mawaf, Wa'af, Yarak, verse 27. Wa'af, Hada Waram, Wa'af, Awazal, Wa'af, Dakwala, verse 28. Wa'af, we're reading through 32, folks. Wa'af, Awabal, Wa'af, Abba Yama'Allah, Wa'af, Shaba'ah, verse 29. Wa'af, Awapar, Wa'af, Karwayala, Wa'af, Wayaba, Baba, Call, Allah, Bunya, Yakwatan, verse 30. Wayahaya, Mawashabam, Mama Sha'a, Ba'aka, Sapara, Har, Hakwadam, verse 31. Allah, Bunya, Sham, Lamasha Pakatham, Lala Shanatham, Ba'aratazatham, Laga Yaham, Salakia, Lagoy Yaham, Salakia. Verse 32. Allah, Masha Pakaf, Bunya, Nak, Latha Walada Thum, Bagawayaham, Ma'ala, Naparadwa, Hagoyim, Barataza, Achar, Hamabawal. That's it. All right, now we're going to be reading Genesis 10, 25 through 32 in the English.
Genesis chapter 10, verse 25. And unto Eber were born two sons. The name of one was Peleg, For in his days was the earth divided, and his brother's name was Joktan. Verse 26, and Joktan began Almad, and Shalif, and Hazarmaveth, and Jerah. Verse 27, and Haduram, and Uzal, and Salat,
Dikla.
and Dikla. Verse 28, and Obal, and Abimol, and Shabbat. Verse 29, and Ophir, Havilah, and Jobab. All these were the sons of Joktan. Verse 30, and their dwelling was from Meshai as thou goest into Sephar, a mount of the east. Verse 31, these are the sons of Shem, after their families, after their tongues, in their lands, after their nations.
So these were the lands that they were supposed to be going to. Okay? It says it all, the lands that they were divided to go to. Go ahead, verse 32.
Khan. These are the families of the sons of Noah, after their generations, in their nations. And by these were the nations divided in the earth after the flood.
So this is where they were supposed to go. Now, I keep emphasizing that because, we're going to see the problem in Genesis 11. All right? So we're going to go over to Genesis 11. We're going to read this in the Hebrew first, and then we're going to read in the English, and we're going to notice a problem that these nations were not doing. Okay? Genesis 11, verse 1 in the Hebrew. And we're going to read through verse 7. Wayahaya, call, ha'aratasha, shapah, akah, wadabarium, achadium. Verse 2. Wayahaya, manasa'ain, makwadam, waya mataza awa, wakwa'aiha, wa'arataza, shana'ar, waya shabwa, sham. Verse 3. Waya marwa, ayash, all, ra'aihawa, Raihawa, Haba, Nala Bana, Labunyam, Wanasharapa, Lasharapa, Haya, Laham, Halabana, Laaban, Waha Khamar, Haya, Laham, Lachamar. Verse 4. Wayamarwa, Haba, Nabana, Lanawa, Ayar, Wama Gadal, Wara Ashwa, Bashamyam, Wana Aisha, Lanawa, Sham, Pun, Napawataza, Ab, Punya, Call, Harataza. Verse 5. Wayarad, Yahawa, Lara'af, Af, Ha'ayar, Wa'af, Hamagadal, Ashar, Bunwa, Bunya, Ha'adam. Verse 6. Wayamar, Yahweh, Hun, Ain, Akkad, Washapah, Akaf, Lakalam, Wa'aiza, Hakalam, La'aishawaf, Wa'aitha, La'a, Labatazar, Maham, Kal, Ashar, Yazamwa, La'aishawaf. Verse 7. Haba, Narada, Wana Bala, Sham, Shapatham, Ashar, La'a, Yeshamaywa, Ayash, Shapath, Ra'aihawa. And that's it. All right, let's go ahead and read Genesis 11, 1 through 7 in the English.
Genesis chapter 11, verse 1. And the whole earth was of one language and of one speech.
Now, what is this really saying? They're pretty much all on one accord. This is pretty much what's going on. The whole earth is at one accord right now. Now, that doesn't seem like a problem, does it? I mean, initially, when I was younger and I was reading this, I'm thinking like, that's a good idea, right? Everybody should come together all the nations, think of the United States, right? All nations, one nation under God. This doesn't sound bad. Okay, when I was young, I didn't understand this. Keep going, verse 2.
Verse 2, and it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, that they found a plain in the land of Sinir, and they dwelt there. Verse 3, and they said one to another, go to, let us make brick, and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime they had for mortar. Verse 4, and they said, go to, let us build us a city and a tower, whose top may reach unto heaven.
Okay, so they're all coming together. They're like, let's create us a great one city, right? Let's make one nation, one empire. Now remember, these are all the families. Okay, go ahead.
And let us make us a name.
Let us make us a name. Now, when you look in the Hebrew, let's talk about, let us make a name of renown. Now, you heard that word before in Genesis. These were men of renown. Let's make us a great name. Keep going.
Lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth.
This is the first problem. They said, lest we be scattered abroad. Okay? They were going contrary to what was commanded them. Okay? The Most High, and he told through Noah and them, you are supposed to go to you're supposed to fill the earth. They did not want to be scattered. Okay? Hold your place there. Go to Acts 17:26. The Most High did this purposely. He scattered the nations and put them where he wanted them to be. He did not want one super nation. He did not want that, and we're going to see why. Go ahead, whenever you get it.
It's a lot. I'm sorry.
Oh, no sweat. Acts 17, and when he's turning there, so he did not want a super. Can anybody tell me why, probably, the Most High did not want a super nation? Think about the United States. Come. Okay. Yeah, I mean, you're thinking, there's another reason. If I got all these nations joined together, what are they going to start to do? They're going to get too powerful. But what does everybody, when they come together, start bringing? Their what? Go ahead. They bring their own gods, and they bring their own traditions. And then this starts what? Okay, this starts confusion. Because there's no line in the sand. You can worship the alternative lifestyle God. You can, sacrifice children. You can do abortions. You can. It's what anybody wants. And that's confusion. That's actually what Babel means. Babel means confusion. There's no line in the sand. That's what I said. Think about the United States. When everybody comes together and different nations, they're going to bring their gods. They're going to bring their demons with them too. They're going and it's all going to be so much compromising. Okay, go ahead. You have it?
Come. Acts chapter 17, verse 26.
Go ahead.
And have made of one blood all nations.
Okay, the Most High made of one blood all nations. Go ahead.
Of men for to dwell on all the face of the earth.
For men to dwell on all face of the earth. Go ahead.
And have determined the times before appointed.
And have determined when they're going to be set up and taken down.
And the bonds of their habitation.
The boundaries. The bonds means their boundaries of their habitations. It's like,
no, I said Salat.
Oh, no. Okay. He determines their boundaries. So the Most High did not want all the earth to be of one mind because he's seen this before. There's a reason why. When did this happen before? Anybody remember? Right now, the earth is one speech and they're all mingling up. This happened before and caused trouble. Anybody remember? Go ahead.
In Genesis?
Yeah, in Genesis before the flood. Remember? They started mixing and marrying. And so everybody, remember Yahweh said they were marrying and giving into marriage. That means they were joining to all different idolatries. This sounds like the Christian church. And it doesn't ever work. So this is why this is a problem here. And they said, let us make a great name for ourselves. Let us make this great empire. Let us make, Babylon. Okay? So that we won't be scattered. And what usually happens, when they want to make a name for themselves, all types of sin starts to happen. Okay? And the Most High just to punish them for this, and guess what they're doing? They're doing it again. That's why they said, really in the Hebrew, when it says build, it could also mean let us rebuild. They were doing the same thing they were trying to do before the flood. The only difference is the Most High kept his promise. What was his promise after the flood? That he would not what? Go ahead, sis. He wouldn't destroy the earth the same way he just did again. And look, they're going back to do the same exact thing. Okay? So I wanted to point that out. And they said, lest we be scattered on the earth. Let's go, let's go back to verse, Genesis 11, verse 5.
Come on. Genesis chapter 11, verse 5. And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower, which the children of men builded.
Okay, they're building and now making a great name. These, remember back in Genesis 6? Okay, we're going to look at that again. It says, these were men of renown. Okay, keep going.
Verse 6. And the Lord said, behold, the people is one, and they have all one language.
They got one mind. They got one mind. They're all together. They're on the same page. Okay, and they're gathering together. Keep going.
And this they begin to do, and now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do.
Where have you heard this before? Hold your place there. Let's go to Genesis 6. Let's look at Genesis 6. We've seen this before. We've seen this same type of spirit before. Remember, he said everything is in their heart. There's no restraint in their imagination. Let's go to Genesis 6. Let's go to Genesis 6 and start in verse 4.
Genesis chapter 6, verse 4. There were giants in the earth.
Giants, men of great reputation, men of renown, men making a great name for themselves. Keep going.
And the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men.
Now the seed of the children of Adam starting to mix in. Keep going.
And they bare children to them. The same became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown.
Men of renown, men of great, large status, reputation. Sir.
Hey, Salaki, that's very important to clarify, because you got whole religions that start behind that. You know, that it's like that. You got demigods that came down. And they started, dealing with earthlings and stuff. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's the foundation of the Christian church.
That's an excellent point, sir, and that's pretty much what it is. That's where the Greek philosophies came from, the Roman philosophy.
Because if you believe that these angels came down, they came out of heaven, these were angels and they slept with women, now you can believe that Jesus Christ didn't have a father.
Excellent point. That was a good point. Right? You don't think Mary really got pregnant with some super seed from heaven?
So, can I ask one thing? In church, they used to tell me that the angels went had babies with the daughters of men, and that's how we got giants on the earth. Like, they tell you that, but in here, it actually, even though we know they're not real giants, in the scripture it says there were giants first, and then the sons of them went. So it's kind of backwards, you know what I'm saying? But that's how you just see the inconsistency of, they don't know what they read.
And that's Greek philosophy. That's Greek philosophy. Like we said, we talked about the gods came out, Zeus. Zeus would sleep with everybody, and Hera would always get, the Greek philosophy. Read verse 5 in Genesis 6.
Genesis chapter 6, verse 5. And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the tongues of his heart was only evil continuously.
It's the same thing that he's seeing here at the tower. He said there's nothing that he's restraining. When you don't restrain anything, there's all kinds of craziness. There's no restraint. Like in this system right here that we have, there's no restraint. You can be a man today, and you can be a dog tomorrow. There's no restraint. I can identify as a German Shepherd tomorrow, and it's accepted. There's no restraint. Every imagination you think of, you want to be a giraffe tomorrow, you can be a giraffe. Okay? And there's just no restraint. Let's go back to Genesis, we're at Genesis 11. The same type of language here. Read verse 6 again.
Genesis,
11
Six.
verse 6. Go on.
Genesis chapter 11, verse 6. And the Lord said, behold, the people is one, and they have all one language. And and this they begin to do. And now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do.
Same type of thing. Know the wickedness. Remember, in the time of Noah, there was violence throughout the earth. Okay, it was very corrupt. They had the same spirit. Now, he just said I wouldn't destroy them, but look, they go back and say, let's rebuild and do this again. Now, you see how the Most High do restraint, because he could have just wiped them out again. But the Most High keeps his promises. Verse 7, go ahead.
Verse 7, go to, let us go down, and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech.
Let them not be all on the same page. And this is going to cause them to go to where they were supposed to go to their boundaries. Okay? Because they didn't want to go to their boundaries. Like, hey, let's be one nation, a melting pot. Yep, this sound familiar? This is the same spirit the United States has. And you see what happens. Well, we will accept Allah, we'll accept Vishnu, we'll accept the Christian God, and then everybody brings their own stuff, and there's no line in the sand. Okay, and that's the danger of it. Okay, and that's why if we look at Revelation 18, it talks about how Babylon caused all the nations to drink of the wine of her fornication. Okay? This is the same spirit. That's why Most High destroyed Babylon in the end. Because Babylon, that great city, had that same type of spirit. Okay? In the end times. Okay? All the nations are filled with the drunkenness of her wickedness. It's the same thing right here. And the blood of the saints, as we see now. Think about Sonia Massey. Okay? All right? Where they destroyed the Most High's people. All right, so let's go ahead and continue. We're in Genesis chapter 11. We're going to be reading 8 through, I think it's 14. Is it 8? Yep, 8 through 14. All right, got it. I'll read in the Hebrew, then in the English. Genesis chapter 11, verse 8. Wayapatasa, Yahweh, Atham, Masham, Al, Punya, Kal, Ha'arataza, Wayakadalwa, Labanath, Ha'ayar, verse 9, Al, Khan, Korah, Shema, Babal, Kaya, Sham, Balal, Yahweh, Shapath, Kal, Ha'arataza, Wamasham, Hapa Yatazam, Yahweh, Al, Punya, Kal, Ha'arataza, verse 10. Where are we going to? 14. Verse 10. Allah, Thawaladaf, Sham, Ban, Ma'af, Shana, Waya, Walad, Af, Ara, Pakashad, Shanathyam, Akar, Hama, Bawal. Verse 11. Wayahya, Sham, Akarya, Hawala, Yadwa, Af, Ara, Pakashad, Hasham, Ma'awaf, Shana, Waya, Walad, Bunyam, Banawaf, Shalom. Verse 12. Wa'arapakashad, Chaya, Hasham, Washalashyam, Shana, Waya, Walad, Af, Shalak. Verse 13. Wayahya, Arapakashad, Akarya, Hawala, Yadwa, Af, Shalak, Shalash, Shunya, Wa'arabai, Ma'awaf, Shanam, Wayawalad, Bunyam, Waba Nawaf, verse 14. Washalak, Kaya, Shalashyam, Shana, Wayawalad, Af, Ibar. And that's it. Okay, let's go ahead and read Genesis chapter 11, 8 through 14 in the English.
Genesis chapter 11, verse 8. So the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build the city.
Okay, so that they went back. He pretty much caused them to go back to where they were supposed to be, or the places that he had assigned them. They had assigned territories. Okay, go ahead.
Verse 9, therefore is the name of it called Babel, because the Lord did there confound the language of all the earth. And from thence did the Lord scatter them abroad upon the face of all the earth.
Okay, and like I said, Babel means confusion, mix. Okay, that same attitude was the thing that the Most High had told Adam and Eve in the beginning not to deal with. Don't touch the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Okay, don't go there, because you can't. Good and evil, you don't know where it stands. It's the same thing, that mixed type attitude. That's why the Christian church is off. You can't accept everything. It's got to be a line in the sand. Okay? It goes all the way back to the beginning of the garden, the tree of knowledge of good and evil. That mixed type attitude, the Most High does not like it. That's why he told Adam and Eve, don't touch it. Don't be a part of that culture. Don't be a part of that culture. Go ahead.
Verse 10, these are the generations of Shem. Shem was 100 years old and begot Arphaxad 2 years after the flood. Verse 11, and Shem lived after he begot Arphaxad 500 years and begot sons and daughters. Verse 12, and Arphaxad lived 35 years and begot Salah. 13, and Arphaxad lived after he begot Salah 403 years and begot the sons and daughters. Verse 14, and Salah lived 30 years and begot Eber.
All right, excellent. All right, now we're going to be reading Genesis 11, 15 through 21 in the Hebrew. All right, Genesis chapter 11, verse 15 in the Hebrew. Wayachya, Shalach, Karya, Havala, Yadwa, Av, Ebar, Shalash, Shunyam, Wa'arabai, Ma'awath, Shana, Wayawalad, Bunyam, Wabanawaf, verse 16. Wayachya, Ibar, Arabai, Washalashyam, Shana, Wayawalad, Av, Palag, verse 17. Wayachya, Ibar, Akarya, Wahawala Yadwa, Ah, Palag, Shalashyam, Shana, Wa'arabai, Ma'awath, Shana, Wayawalad, Bunyam, Wabanwath, verse 18. Wayachya, Palag, Shalashyam, Shana, Wayawalad, Ah, Raiwa, verse 19. 21. Verse 19, Wayachya, Palag, Akarya, Hawala Yabwa, Af, Raiwa, the Shai, Shunyam, Wama Afyam, Shana, Wayawalad, Bunyam, Wabanawath, verse 20, Wayachya, Raiwa, Shafyam, Washalashyam, Shana, Wayawalad, Af, Sharwag, verse 21. Wayachya, Raiwa, Akarya, Wahala Yadwa, Ah, Sharawag, Shabai, Shunyam, Wama Afyam, Shana, Wayawalad, Bunyam, Wabanawath, and that's it. All right, we're going to read Genesis 11, 15 through 21 in the English.
Genesis chapter 11, verse 15. And Salah lived after he begot Eber 403 years and begot sons and daughters. Verse 16. And Eber lived 430 years and begot Peleg. 17, verse 17. And Eber lived after he begot Peleg 430 years and begot sons and daughters. Verse 18. And Peleg lived 30 years and begot Reu. Verse 19. And Peleg lived after he begot Reu 209 years and begot sons and daughters. Verse 20. And Reu lived 230 years and begot Serug. Verse 21. And Reu lived after he begot Serug 207 years and begot sons and daughters. Verse.
And if you're going to, we'll notice here that the Most High is only really working through one bloodline. He says where all the nations went, but he's definitely taken very care or interest in the one bloodline that he's looking at, which is the bloodline that Noah comes out of Shem. Okay, he's looking at that one. Okay, so that it just shows it's you know, this is the bloodline that he wants to work with. You know, that's why he said, I'll have mercy whom I want to have mercy with, and compassion whom I want to have compassion with. Okay? That's the Most High. He picks and chooses who he wants. Okay? We can't say, you know, to the Most High where we think he should choose. And that's what the Christian church will teach us. That, you know, we can tell the Most High who he can choose. That doesn't work like that. Okay? I mean, there's a scripture, I think it's in Isaiah, you know, does the clay say to the potter, you know, form me this way? It doesn't say that. Okay? It just gets formed. All right? Genesis 11, verse 22. We're going to be reading 22 through 28. Okay? I think it's 22. Yep. Genesis chapter 11, verse 22. Wayakia, Shawag, Shalashim, Shana, Waya, Walad, Af, Nakawar, verse 23. Wayakia, Shawag, Akaria, Hawala Yadwa, Af, Nakawar, Ma'afyam, Shana, Wayawalad, Bunyam, Wabunwath. Verse 24. Wayakia, Nakawar, the Shai, Aisha, Aisharyam, Shana, Wayawalad, Af, Tharak. Verse 25. Wayakia, Nakawar, Akaria, Hawala Yadwa, Af, Tharak, the Shai, Aishara, Shana, Wama'af, Shana, Wayawalad, Bunya, Wabanawaf. Verse 26. Wayakia, Tharak, Shabayim, Shana, Wayawalad, Af, Abaram, Af, Nakawar, Wa'af, Haran. Verse 27. We're going through 28. Verse 27. Wa'allah, Thawaladath, Tharak, Hawalayad, Af, Abaram, Af, Nakawar, Wa'af, Haran, Wahalayad, Af, Lawat. Verse 28. Wayamath, Haran, Al, Hanya, Tharak, Abayawa, Ba'arataza, Mawaladathwa, Ba'awar, Kadashiam. And that's it. Does somebody got a question? We got to be done at like 11:30 to it. Who's somebody got a question?
No, it was just something he was saying.
You want to answer it? You can answer it if you want to. Wait till we finish reading it and you can answer. Okay, let's go ahead and read Genesis 11, 22 through 28 in the Hebrew. I mean in the English, like
22.
Mm-hmm.
Genesis chapter 11, verse 22. And Serug lived 30 years and begot Nahor. Verse 23. And Serug lived after he begot Nahor 200 years and begot sons and daughters. Verse 24. And Nahor lived 9 and 20 years. Slightly. And begot Terah. Verse 25. And Nahor lived after he begot Terah 119 years and begot sons and daughters. Verse 26. And Terah lived 70 years and begot Abram and Nahor and Haran. Verse 27. Now these are the generations of Terah. And Terah begot Naham, Nabram, Nahor, and Haran. And Haran begot Lot. Verse 28.
Okay, and you see this is where we're going to see where Abram, which is, Abraham, we're seeing the line of the genealogy that he's coming from.
Come. And Haran died before his father, Terah, in the land of his nativity, in Ur of the Chaldees.
Okay. There was a question here asking why the aggressive attire. Well, I wouldn't consider this attire aggressive. but I guess because I'm in the UPK, so I might be biased. But there is a scripture that talks about that. I think somebody did have a question. So let's look at it's in 1 Maccabees, chapter 14, verse 9. It says, the ancient men sat all in the streets, communing together of good things. And the young men put on glorious and warlike apparel. Okay? It's talking about how the young men wore glorious and warlike apparel. Okay? That's why we wear this, some people said aggressive attire. Okay? This is what we wear because this is what the men of the ancients, our forefathers, wore. Okay? Especially when we're going out into what we call camp. Okay? We will wear glorious warlike apparel. Okay? And that's the attire that we wear. Okay? Especially when we're going out to camp. Because that is pretty much, it's a spiritual warfare that we're going into. Okay? And to add to that, that Yahweh Shai, when they saw him, okay, he had an apparel on. I think, was it a Revelation? Revelation 2. Okay, when John saw him, okay, he was clothed down to the feet, and he had a certain type of garment on. Okay, so that's why we wear these garments. All right, so it's not something we're just pulling out of our hats. Okay, there's a scriptural reason why we wear these things. Okay, so I hope that answers. I think somebody did have a question about that. Okay, and we're not, you'll see in the Christian church some of them have dresses on. I don't think you want to have that apparel on, a skirt. Okay, all right, you see the skirts that they're wearing. Okay, and that's not masculinity. It's not masculine. Okay, you're not supposed to wear the things that a man is not supposed to wear things that pertain to a woman. All right, hope that answers that question. If they have another one, just let me know. Okay, all right, that's pretty much it. All right, so this is for the people up here. Come on, sir. All right, let's go to James 2 and 3. James 2 and 3. Okay. What's it? James 2 verse. You said verse 3.
Okay.
It says, and ye have respect to him that weareth the gay clothing, and say unto him, sit thou here in a good place, and say to the poor, stand out there or sit here under my foot.
That's the Christian church right there. We have respect the persons to them when they had their colorful suits on and whatnot. That's not how the Lord told us to dress. We just clearly read how the Lord wanted his young men to dress. He don't want us in gay apparel according to the Bible.
He doesn't want us in a certain apparel. And you had to wear the right type of garments, one, to go into the house of the Most High. Remember when Yahweh Shah said a person was at the party, and what? They didn't have their garments, they didn't have a certain type of garment. Now that also can retain their righteousness as well, but you guys also think the priests had to wear a certain type of garment. They had to, okay? And if not, you were thrown out. All right? All right, let me see. All right, just the people up here. Imanium. Go ahead.
Yalla Shalom.
Watch out for this. Come. One second, I'm sorry. Okay. All right. Men of Israel, gird up thy loins and prepare to salute the Torah. Yahweh Shem Yahshabrakah. Just turn the knob. You don't even turn the water, sir. There we go. Yahweh Shem Yahshabrakah. Yahweh Shem Yahshabrakah.
Yahweh Shem Yahshabrakah.
Actually, go ahead and let's see. Oh, I said that backwards, but that's all right. We were supposed to cover it, I think. Last week's uncovers it. That's okay. I did it backwards. Go ahead and blow that horn.
Amadiam Wapayat Hakwadam, which means rise and face the east.
We're going to read the Lord's Prayer in the Hebrew, then in the English. The Lord's Prayer. Abanaw. Shabbat Shemayim. Kodash. Hayah. Shemka. Yahweh. Malak Wafka. Zaba'al. Retazayinka. Hayah. Asha. Wa'aratazah. Kawa. Hayah. Vashemayim. Nathan now. Lakam. Call. Yawam. Wasalak now. Kabawak now. Kasalak now. Kabawaki now. Wala'ah. Wabiya'ai now. Manasaya 1. Abal. Hawashai now. Mayan. Ra. Kaya. Laka. Hamalakwa. Waha'ala. Wahatapa'ara. La'awalamyam. Aman.
And in the English, our Father,
Our Father,
which art in heaven,
hallowed be thy name.
Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done. In earth. As it is in heaven. Give us this day. Our daily bread. And forgive us our debts. As we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation. But deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom. And the power. And the glory. Forever. So be it.
Sar, which means to turn. make sure for a second. This concludes the service. Go ahead and pull the horn first.
Men of Israel, we're going to give the teacher one courtesy salute. Men of Israel, Amadium, Amadium Shabbat, Amadium, Barak, Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shabrakatah.
Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shabrakatah.
Sar, Yayamatat, Sar, which means turn. Sisters, Amadium, Men of Israel, we're going to get a sisters one courtesy salute. Men of Israel, Amadium Shabbat, Amadium, Barak,
Yahweh Shamar Alatah Ba'ashim Yahweh Shah.
Yayamatat, class dismissed.